Omaज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवतः सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। अपवित्र पवित्र व सर्वस्तांगतप्रिय स्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षपाक्ष्यान्तरशुचिः श्रीविष्णु श्रीविष्णु श्रीविष्णु। Praveen Prabhu, firstly, thank you very much. You have been like, I don't know how you're managing it, hosting all these programs and then working for office. I'm really, really grateful to you. Before me, you got up and then joined in the session for hosting it. And Subbara Prabhuji, you're absolutely feeling Subbara Prabhuji. I think I should really, I'm really humbled looking at your service. Thank you very much, Praveen Prabhu. And thank you everyone who have joined on the call. All of you are like much seniors to me, and then I'm definitely a menial or sadhaka before every one of you. So if I speak anything wrong or if I speak anything that doesn't make any sense, you can give me one-on-one feedback because this platform probably is gonna take everyone's time out. So if I speak anything wrong or any better feedback that you have during this during the session, please give me one-on-one feedback at the end of the session. I would definitely appreciate and I'll definitely try to work on it. That would definitely be great help for me that you could do. Thank you very much. So today I haven't prepared, unlike my every session, today I did not prepare any PowerPoint presentation. I thought that, personally, I think I was kind of a little hollow in my sadhana. So I thought that it is good to go through Prahlad Maharaj's qualities. Probably when I go through those qualities during preparation, I thought I would definitely be able to contemplate my senses on those qualities so that I can perform better sadhana. So before starting the session, if anyone has anything to say, please go ahead and say, then we can start the session. In case you have any expectations from the session, or if you want session to be in a certain way or something, please speak out, then we can start the session. Hope I'm audible to everyone, right?
Yeah. Here.
Okay, in this case, we'll start the session. So this session is going to be just for an hour. And after that, probably we can discuss more on or contemplate more on what we've discussed. Then probably, it might go for another 15 minutes and then we'll end the session. So from now, it's going to be 1 hour 15 minutes. Okay, so this discussion is happening between, as all of us know, this Bhagavatam is a discussion happening between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, right? So as everyone knows, Parikshit Maharaj is just 7 days away from his death, and Sukadeva Goswami is talking to Parikshit Maharaj, and Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring from Sukadeva Goswami to understand what are all the things that he has to focus on during the 7 days so that he can finally pass the examination of death, right? This entire life is a preparation and death is the examination, right? So this discussion is happening between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. In that, again, screen inside another screen. So the screen inside is a discussion between Narada Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is performing Rajasuya Yajna, and I'm not going to the details of that yajna, but during the Rajasuya Yajna, Yudhishthir Maharaj is trying to inquire things that are everyday memorized by great saints or great sages. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was asking Narada Muni to help him understand those things which were daily recited or daily remembered by great people. During that process, Narada Muni talks about many things. During that process, it goes to a level where Narada Muni says, the Supreme Lord is not partial. Right. Yesterday, many of us have given this Bhakti Shastri Sloka test, where it says that the Supreme Lord doesn't envy anyone, neither he is partial to anyone. He is equal to all. So the discussion goes in such a way where Yudhishthira Maharaj inquires, despite of these Shishupala Dantavaktara, Hiranyaksha Hiranyakasipu, Ravana Kumbhakarna, all these demons, despite of they being hardcore demons, doing so much bad to divine people, demigods and devatas, why they actually got liberated? This is the question that Yudhishthira Maharaj asks Narada Muni. And Narada Muni says, the Supreme Lord is impartial. He actually, I mean, this is the best example, right? So Supreme Lord is different. We have gotten many stories around, like when that Kshirasagara Madhanam happens, then comes different things. Among them, one is the poison, right? The Kalakota Visham, the darkest poison of all the poisons, and that poison has been given only to devatas and not given to demons. All these discussions that happen there, right? Which means the Supreme Lord is partial to the devatas or the demigods. It is not true, because there are certain reasons why it was not distributed to demons, because demons are like directionless weapons. They don't know which direction they go. I mean, in fact, we see those kind of demons in current era also. So if we look at we have seen in the past 2-3 years, right? People are making money on dead bodies. So such a kind of nature can actually come only from people from demonic worlds, right? So again, we might come back saying that why we see demons when we see demons here, why is it Bhuloka? Why is it not Atala, Sutala or Patal Loka? It is just the dimension differs, right? So the dimension that we have is, we can see only 3 dimensions and time, right? X, Y, G and time. But whereas if you want to see things in other planets, or things in, for example, Goloka, right? Bhuloka is a perverted reflection of Goloka. We don't see Goloka in Bhuloka because our dimensional ability, our capacity is not sufficient enough. We have gotten only 4 dimensions, X, Y, G and time. But you have to go beyond time and space, the X, Y, G, to see Goloka, right? So it is, when we say that it's like you go higher in Y direction to the top, you will see different lokas like Satya, Tapo, Maha, Bhuvar, Bhuloka and all. It is not that we have to take a flight and go up. Rather, we have to increase. We have to do such a kind of austerity. We have to do those penance and austerity by which we get Shastra Chakshu, right? Only the spiritual master can give that vision. Right? When we get that vision, we would be able to see. When we get elevated to that level, that's when we would be able to see the other planets or Goloka, things like that, right? In fact, Prabhupada, for example, Prabhupada is Nitya Siddha, which means he stays both in Goloka as well as Bhuloka. How is it possible? Because he has gotten that Shastra Chakshu. And people who are these Mahatmas, Swamis, who have gotten those Shastra Chakshus, they only can actually give Shastra Chakshus or Shastra Chakshus to their disciples. So it is very important to have a right spiritual master also. So coming back, Narada Muni is trying to explain Yudhishthira Maharaj that the Supreme Lord is not partial, because the demons are like directionless weapons. If they becomes eternal, they're gonna create a lot of problems to the entire cosmic manifestation, right? So that is the reason why the Supreme Lord did not give that nectar to the demons, right? So further, Narada Muni goes further ahead and then explains. On the other hand, these three pairs, like the Ravana Kumbhakarna, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu, Shishpala and Dantavaktara, they are non-different. They are just Jaya Vijayas because of the sinful reactions that they've committed to sages. Says they actually get this birth, and again, at that time also they were given a choice to become close, to have a positive relation with the Supreme Lord and take more births, or have a negative relation with the Supreme Lord and take less births and go back fast. So if you look at their devotion or the commitment that they have, they wanted to even go inimical to the Supreme Lord, but they wanted to go back fast to the to Vaikuntha. Hence they have chosen to be demons who absolutely act against the supreme will, right? So in that, one of the incarnations or the appearances of that Jaya Vijaya pair is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu, right? So now Hiranyakasipu's son is Prahlad Maharaj. Now we will discuss about Prahlad Maharaj's qualities. Or to just give a summary before we start, though Prahlad Maharaj taken birth in the Asura dynasty, he is a great Vaishnava. And a Vaishnava is none other. A Vaishnava has a qualities better than a Brahmana, right? So we will again further discuss about all those Brahmana qualities of Brahmana, everything in going forward between 7th chapter, 7th canto, 4th chapter, 30 to 37. So we will discuss about around 8 verses and their translations and then purports, and then try to understand the Prahlad Maharaj's great qualities. And these, to further emphasize on this, these are the qualities which were recited every single day by the sages and saints. It is not like, when they do it only during this Rajashi Yagya, things like that. Every single day, the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj were recited by the great saints and sages. Right? And the one of the reasons why I have chosen is when saints and sages were reciting these Prahlad Maharaj qualities every single day, I thought I should at least, read once in a month. So I wanted to make a schedule so that, I would go and read Prahlad Maharaj qualities once in a month, because, of course, everyone or anyone who chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a Vaishnava, but a real Vaishnava is greater than a Brahmin. So if you come back and look at the Brahmana's qualities, the prime quality of a Brahmana is not to get attached to money, right? But it is very difficult to see a Brahmana in Kali Yuga, right? It said that Kalau Sudra Sambhava, right? So a Vaishnava is above Brahmana. So if you want to really become a Vaishnava, along with chanting and having attachment to the Supreme Lord, it is equally important to have detachment from the two main things which are distractions to the devotional service. The two main things are, one is Dhanam, the other one is opposite sex. It is very, very important to get detached from these two to become a Brahmana first. And once you become Brahmana, you become a Vaishnava. Because Vaishnava is a superset of Brahmana, right? Okay, we'll go through the sloka starting from 30th text from 7th canto, 4th chapter. Tasya daita pate putras chatvara paramadbhutaha prahrado bhun mahamste sam gunair mahad upashakaha. Translation: Hiranyakasipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons, of whom the son named Prahlada was the best. Indeed, Prahlada was reservoir of all transcendental qualities because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. So actually, Hiranyakasipu has had 4 sons, right? Out of all of them, Prahlada was the best son. In fact, when we go through these purports, it's further explained that Prahlada doesn't speak at all during his childhood pastimes. Purport: Yashyati Bhaktir Bhagavatya Kinchana Sarvair Gunais Tatra Samasate Sura. In one who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifested. Prahlad Maharaj is praised herein for having all good qualities because of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a pure devotee who has no motive has all good qualities, material and spiritual. If one is spiritually advanced, being a staunch liberal devotee of Lord, all good qualities are manifested in his body. On the other hand, Harave Abhaktas Kuto Mahadguna. If one is not a devotee, even if he has some material good qualities, they have no value. That is the verdict of the Vedas. So having a material good qualities is in the state of Sattvaguna. So unless one transmigrates from Sattvaguna to Suddha Sattvaguna, it is not going to help, right? Because these qualities, many times, as many of the devotees in the congregation explains, right? So having Sattvaguna is like having a boarding pass, are going to airport but revolving around there, not boarding the flight that actually takes us to the destination. So to board the flight that actually takes us to the destination is going into Suddha Sattvaguna from Sattvaguna. So Sattvaguna are like, they keep you going around, but they don't take you to Goloka because you are doing good, and that good actually gives you more credit balance, with which you can actually go to higher planetary systems. But once you go to higher planetary, there is an interesting thing over here. So if someone is going down, like, from Bhuloka, if someone is going to Atala, Sutala, Mahatala, Patala, what happens is the lifetime goes down and number of legs goes up. Say, for example, it is said that these creepers like lizard, cockroach, all these things are considered to be in lower planetary systems. So if our snakes are also supposed to, for example, the last but one loka, I think it's so the Patala Loka. So what happens is there the king is the snake Vasuki, right? So if you look at it, as you go down, the snakes also belong to the lower planetary systems, right? So it doesn't mean that, you know, there is Sutala Loka, which is ruled by Bali Maharaj. So when I say as you go to lower planetary systems, you get more legs and less lifetime, it doesn't mean that, you know, the kings who rule there are also of that quality, because they coexist in Vaikunta as well as Patala and you know, Sutala Lokas. We'll discuss about that in a way. But actually, what I meant by this is, in Bhuloka, it is equal. Like the lifetime is on an average, as per Kali Yuga, we have gotten 120 years. But whereas if you go to higher planetary systems, like if you go to Vaikunta Loka, there people are with, you know, four-handed forms. Everyone resembles Lord Vishnu. With, you know, they have four hands, and they do different things with different services with these four hands. You know, they wear Shankha Chakra Gada Padma to actually always serve the Lord. And things like that. When you go down to Patala, Sutala, these lower planetary systems, the number of legs goes up and the size of brain goes down, and the lifetime also goes down. So wherever the lifetime goes up, the brain is also going to be bigger and bigger. Whereas if you go to lower planetary systems, brain size is small, means the thinking capacity goes really, really down. It is so because, in fact, if you look at here, the analysis is something like this. You get bigger brain to think more on how to serve the Lord. You at the same time, you get smaller brain if you're not able to really think about the Lord, right? So this is what happens when you go to Patala Loka, and you get more legs, because legs can actually serve only one purpose, to go travel to the temple. But if you want to really serve, like blow the conch shell, the way that we did Harati in the morning, right? To blow the conch shell, to perform Arati, to offer flowers, to offer water, to offer tulsi leaves, all these things you need hands. It is, you know, there are very special people who can actually do that with legs, but legs are usually not supposed to do any offerings, right? So you are given more and more hands depending on your capability. Say, for example, I'm performing better service. So when I perform, let me take an example of a class student, right? If someone is doing good, he's easily promoted to better grades, and even he can actually be further, you know, promoted to get into better colleges like NITs, IITs, Cambridge universities, and things like that. He gets more and more because he's doing more and more. So when we perform more and more service, we are given more and more better capabilities, qualities, or opportunities to serve more, right? But whereas if we try to do less and less, you know, along with the tendency, capacity also goes down. So the brain size also goes smaller and smaller. And as you're reluctant to, you know, as I'm reluctant to spend more time serving the Lord with my hands, the hands also are removed. So finally people will end up, you know, they will become animals, end up with more and more legs. So you go down, your legs are going to be more. You go up, your hands are going to be more. You go down, your brain is going to be small. You go up, your brain is going to be big, right? So what happens is, the more and more good qualities you gain, you go to higher and higher planetary systems like Swargaloka and all. And in those planetary systems, as I said, compared to lower planetary systems, the lifetime is very high. In Satyaloka, the lifetime is said to be, you know, 1,000 times higher than in Bhuloka. So when we perform things with good qualities in Satvaguna, we get more and more credit, right? With that, we go to Satyaloka, or, you know, let's say that we go to Dhruva Maharaj Loka. What happens is the lifetime is so huge, we spend up so much time there, and then after our credit balance gets to zero, we again fall down to Bhuloka, right? The moment we fall down to Bhuloka, what happens is, now imagine that, you know, 5,000 years of Kali Yuga has passed. Now I go to Satyaloka, and there I spend, say, for example, another 10,000 years. By the time I come back, what would have had happened to the things in Bhuloka? In 5,000 years itself, the average lifetime has gone down from 120 years to 80 years. And people started eating meat. In fact, people started eating what not. Everything, you know, even they started eating humans in certain countries. I have recently read one article, not recently, a year back. There is one place in United States where you can actually donate your dead body. In the sense, after if I'm in United States, I can donate my dead body after my death, right? So what happens is, my body, immediately after my death, my body is taken to that restaurant, and it is kept aside. And people can come and order human meat, right? So within 5,000 years of time, people started eating humans, right? If we go to Satyaloka and come back, we can't imagine what can actually happen, right? So we can't just imagine what could happen. So being in Satvaguna, doing more and more good karma and going to higher planetary systems is not recommended here. So it is always important to transmigrate from Satvaguna to Suddha Satvaguna to actually go and board the right flight to go to the destination. 31 and 32. Brahmanya Sila Sampanna Satya Sandojitendriya Atmavad Sarva Bhutanam Eko Priya Suhrutamaha Dasvat Sannataryangri Pitrvad Dina Vatsalaha Bhratrvat Sandrse Snigdho Gurusvishwara Bhavana Vidyatarupa Janmadyo Manastamba Vivarjita. Translation. The qualities of Maharaja Prahlada, the son of Hiranyakashipu, are described herewith. He was completely cultured as a qualified Brahmana. So here is what I was talking about. So Vaishnava is someone which is a superset of a Brahmana qualities, right? Is cultured as a qualified Brahmana, having very good character and being determined to understand the absolute truth. He had full control of his senses and mind. Like the super soul, he was kind of every living entity. He was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. Here, this statement is also kind of little, we can focus more attention. He had full control of his senses and mind, like the super soul. So it is said that we are part and parcels from the Supreme Lord, right? So when someone becomes a Vaishnava, he gets the Vaishnavic qualities of the super soul. So it is said that like the super soul, he was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. To respectable persons, he acted exactly like a menial servant. To the poor, he was like a father. To his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother. And he considered his teacher, spiritual masters, and older god brothers to be as good as Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was completely free from unnatural pride that might have arisen from his good education, riches, beauty, aristocracy, and so on. And this quality, if you look at it, these are the qualities of a Brahmana. To respectable persons, he exactly like a menial servant. So if you look at it, if someone is respectable in the society, he became like menial servant. But whereas if someone who is not respectable, he didn't disregard them. Rather, how did he act? He acted like a father. He acted like a sympathetic brother, and some people he considered as his and he considered his teachers and spiritual masters and older god brothers to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are the qualities of Brahmanas. Right. So I was trying to contemplate on this. So when our targets or our intentions are different, we cannot give this respect, right? So if we have ulterior motives, like, say, for example, I need, for example, if I'm trying to crave for a promotion, what do? I only try to do good favor or try to respect or try to, do all that I can do only with my superiors. But I will definitely neglect my team members or juniors to me because they can't do any good to me. Right. So when our ulterior motive is not right, or when we are thinking in the direction opposite to Brahmana, what happens is you can't respect everyone. Right. So if you want to follow Prahlad Maharaj, what you can do is to your elders and those people who are in a respectable position, you can become a menial servant. Means to your boss or someone who is respectable, or to your teacher, you can become a menial servant. And to your subordinates, who can here be considered as poor people or underprivileged people, or not exactly underprivileged. It is poor with respect to your situation, right? So if you're a manager and you have some team members who are like poor compared to you with respect to position, you can actually be a sympathetic brother, or you can be a father, or you can be a mentor, right? But just because your subordinates cannot give you something, you should not be kind of perform non-Brahminical characteristics against them. So if you want to if you want to have Brahminical qualities, which is like a first step to become a Vaishnava, you should perform and respect each and everyone, whether someone is doing good or bad, right? Many times we might have heard in SSR also, right? Anyone who comes to satsang, we have to treat him as a Krishna's guest, right? Even in the nectar of instruction, it is said that we have to perform or we have to give respect at different levels, right? So we have Uttama, Madhyama, Adama, and these people we are asked to give respect at certain levels, right? If someone is a neophyte, we respect them. We don't disregard them, rather we respect them in our mind, things like that, right? So here Prahlad Maharaj is exactly following those Brahmanical characteristics. These are some of the qualities of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is automatically a Brahmana because Vaishnava is a superset of Brahmana. Because a Vaishnava has all good qualities of Brahmana. So here it is very important here. A Vaishnava has all good qualities of Brahmana. It doesn't mean that it stops there. So the first quality of a Vaishnava is to be a Brahmana. Right? And I'll further continue reading this. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmana works. So this is what we were discussing some time back. For someone to be a Brahmana, peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, especially this word has to be very much noted here, because you can't be honest if you have a perverted desire inside, right? Wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which Brahmana works. These qualities are manifested in the body of a Vaishnava. Therefore, a perfect Vaishnava is also a perfect Brahmana, as indicated here by the words Brahmanya, Sila Sampanna. Sila means, we know, right? The character. A Vaishnava is always determined to understand the absolute truth. And to understand the absolute truth, one needs to have full control over his senses and mind. Prahlad Maharaj possessed all these qualities. A Vaishnava is a well-wisher to everyone. The 6 Goswamis, for example, are described in this way. Dhira Dhira Janapriyau. They were popular with both the gentle and refined. A Vaishnava must be equal to everyone regardless of one's position. Atmavat. A Vaishnava should be like Paramatma. Ishvara Sarva Bhutani Hriddeshu Arjuna Tishtati. Paramatma does not hate anyone. Indeed, he is in the heart of a Brahmana, but he is also even in the heart of a pig. As moon never refuses to distribute its pleasing grace, even to the home of a Chandala, a Vaishnava never refuses to act for everyone's welfare. Therefore, a Vaishnava is always obedient to the spiritual master, Arya. The word Arya refers to one who is advanced in knowledge. One who is deficient in knowledge cannot be called Arya. At present, however, the word Arya is used to refer those who are godless. This is the unfortunate situation of Kali Yuga. So here there are 3 important things that we wanted to note down. One, Paramatma never differentiates between a pandita or an animal like dogs and hogs, right? So pandita, so the Supreme Personality is present everywhere, in every living entity. In the Atma, he is present, right? And it is said that Pandita Samdarshana, a person, a learned scholar, right? He looks at everything, every living entity equally. This is one thing to note down. And the other one is, the example that is given is, moon never refuses to distribute its pleasing grace even to the home of a Chandala. This is the second interesting thing to note down. And third one is, in Kali Yuga, unfortunately, we don't find Aryas. Aryas means, Arya means the spiritual master. So, as we discussed some time back, who is a spiritual master? Spiritual master is someone who actually can give you Shastra Chakshu, right? There in Guru Vandana, we have that, right? Chakshudan Dilojoy. So he actually gives the vision to see Goloka, to see Krishna. So who can actually give that vision? Only that one who actually have gotten that dimension. For example, there is an example that I keep quoting every then and there. Ant cannot see 3rd dimension. An ant cannot see 3rd dimension because you can, okay, let me make it more detailed, because an ant can see only 2 dimensions. It cannot see 3rd dimension because its eyes are so close, right? So what I meant by eyes are so close is, if your eyes are so close to each other, you cannot see, it becomes one eye, right? So if both eyes are so close to each other, it becomes one eye. So when you have gotten only one eye, it is like one bulb, right? So when one bulb falls on an object, and say that object's shadow is falling on a wall, right? So in the shadow, you can't see the 3rd dimension of the object because you have gotten only one bulb. On the other hand, if you have 2 bulbs, what happens is there will be 2 shadows by which you can actually measure depth, width, and height also, right? So when you have 2 bulbs, you can see the 3rd dimension also. But when you have only one bulb, you can see only 2 dimensions. Like that, the ants' eyes are so close to each other, the ants cannot see this. Even all these small insects, right? The cockroach, any small, living entities with very small bodies, though they have two eyes, they can see only two dimensions, because with two eyes being so close to each other, they cannot see the address. So if you give an address or a visiting card to an aunt saying that, go to Green Grace, plot number 504, where Mahesh Prabhu and Prasanthi Mataji stays, right? So the ant can go till Green Grace, it can go to Avani block and gonna stand on the ground floor. It cannot go to fifth floor, because what happens is, by the time it goes there, it crawls till the second dimension, but the height goes in third dimension, so it cannot go to fifth floor. So what happens is, ant cannot see to the third dimension. So this is what I was saying, right? When you go to lower planetary systems like Atala, Sutala, Patala, the number of ants goes down and the dimension also goes down, right? So on the other hand, if you want to see higher planetary systems, or if you, even for that matter, if you want to see Goloka, which is like, you don't know how many dimensions you should having capability of to see Goloka, right? So if you want to go to Goloka, you have to at least come to Buloka, or you come to Buloka, where you can actually see the third dimension, and then you find a spiritual master, and the spiritual master who has gotten the dimension to see Goloka can actually give you Shastra Chakshu. From there we can go. Now, why I was actually talking about that is, for someone to be a spiritual master, right, he should be able to give us a Shastra Chakshu. But unfortunately, in current era, in Kali Yuga, there are so many aryas. We call every freaking person as a Swami or a Guru, but that's not a right thing to actually address, right? Yeah, I mean, many a times we end up calling them so, because we are at times we don't have any other choice or option. But speaking in right direction, we are not supposed to call each and everyone as Swami. Swami means it is a level where people were completely detached from everything. You can't call someone Maharaj. The moment you say Maharaj, they're like direct servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone is not a direct servant of Supreme Personality of Godhead or Vaishnavas, they are not Maharajas. And they are not Swamis, they are not Aryas. But unfortunately, we end up calling many people as Swamis, Gurus, and all these things in Kali Yuga because of so and so reasons. Right? Yeah, the word Guru refers to the spiritual master who initiates his disciple into advancement in the science of Krishna or Krishna consciousness, as stated by Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, Sri Bhagavan Mantropadesheka Guru Ityartha. Guru Ityartha. This is the meaning of Guru. Iti means this. Artha means meaning. Guru means this is the meaning of Guru. What is the meaning of Guru? Sri Bhagavan Mantropadeshaka. So whoever actually gives you the Diksha, right? Mantra Diksha, he is the spiritual master. Now, why someone has to take the Mantra Diksha? You have to take Mantra Diksha because that is the science which actually teaches you about seeing higher dimensions to go to Goloka, right? Probably anyone else wants to recite or read purport or translations? Hare Krishna. If anyone wants to read, you can either raise your hand, or it looks like there is no competition. You can go and read. Santosh Prabhu, you want to read? I'll read the sloka. You can actually read the translation.
Okay, bro.
7:4:33. Nodvigna chitto vyasanesu nishpraha sruteshu drishteshu guneshu avastadruk dantendriya prana sarira dishada prashanta kamo rahita sura. Prabhuji, you can read translation and purport.
Although Prahalad Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he himself was not an Asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike the other Asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. He was not agitated when put into danger, and he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in fruitive activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless, and therefore he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his sense and life air, and being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusts.
You can read purport. Yeah.
From this verse, we discover that a man is not qualified or disqualified simply by birth. Prahlad Maharaj was an Asura by birth, yet he possessed all the qualities of a perfect Brahmana. Brahmanya Shila Sampanna. Anyone can become a fully qualified Brahmana under the direction of a spiritual master. Prahlad Maharaj provided a vivid example of how to think of a spiritual master and accept his directions calmly.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So here it is said that he was not agitated when put into danger, and he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruitive activities described in Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless. Actually, this is something that we can actually contemplate more on. He considered everything material to be useless. So what is it that is there in the material world or material universe? Of course, it is sense gratification. So when we say sense gratification, the senses are gratified in many ways, right? So we can actually play games, we eat food, and we watch movies, many things that we do. Among all of this, in many of the sessions, great speakers talk about two major things which are materially entangling to the soul, right? Those two things are money and opposite sex. So if you look at all these things, a person always, or a materially engrossed person most of the times focuses so much on two things, that is money and opposite sex. So if you look at Prahlad Maharaj, he considered every single material thing to be useless, right? And he was completely devoid of material desires. This enlightenment comes, or this enlightenment doesn't come just like that. It comes only through the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or by the mercy of spiritual master, right? One thing I wanted to put stress over here is, there is a sloka that many of us would have recited, yes, last Saturday or a Saturday before to that. Bohanam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvaiti samahatma sudurlava. After many births and deaths, a person who comes to knowledge and surrenders to Supreme Personality of Godhead knows the Supreme Personality to be the Supreme Controller, right? So which means you have to take so many births to become a human being. In fact, it is many times described. Getting a human birth is such a difficult task. If you consider the disk, the hard disk, right? In those days we used to use, when there were no USBs, right? We used to use floppy drives and disk drives, right? Disk drive's hole is so small, right? So if you bring a tortoise, which is of the size of a disk drive, and its head, which is of the size of a hole through of the disk, if you bring a tortoise with these dimensions, the head is of the size of a hole of the disk, and the entire tortoise could be of the size of the disk. Now, what is the probability of this tortoise going through the hole from this side to that side? The problem is clear, right? So you've gotten a disk, the hard disk, which has a hole at the center, right? Concurrent circle it is, and the tortoise has a small head. That head is like, say, 1 centimeter of 1 centimeter diameter. So the head can actually pass through the hole of the disk. Now the entire tortoise is trying to pass through the hole to the other side of the disk. So the probability of the entire tortoise passing through the hole to the other side of the disk is equal to the probability of getting a human body. Now we can imagine how difficult it is to get a human body, right? And in that, once you get human body by passing through so many lives and passing through that small hole with very less probability, you become a human being. Then, knowing about Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, to be the controller of everything, to be the resource or cause of all spiritual and material manifestations, it is very rare. And once you know that, chanting his glories and the Mahamantra is again very rare. And if you do all that, holding a bead bag is very rare. It is said that for someone who actually comes in contact with the bead bag, it is not that their good deeds which actually brought them there to the bead bag. It is not just their good deeds. It is not just their endeavor. It is not just their, all the punya that they did. In addition to all this, there is one another dimension which is very important, is mercy, right? So if anyone who is holding a bead bag, or who have touched the beads once in their lifetime, it is the greatest boon. So the probability of becoming a human being is such very like 10 power minus 20 or 24, something like that. In that probability, knowing about Krishna is again very rare. And knowing about Krishna, holding a bead bag to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra is said to be very rare, right? And after holding the bead bag, if you get association of devotees, Vaishnavas, who actually help us, who actually pray for us, is very rare, right? So if you look at Prahlad Maharaj, he has a quality of looking at everyone with the same vision, Pandita Samadarshana, right? So if you look at here, he was not agitated when he was put in danger. And he was actually praying for everyone. In fact, he prays even for his father. When the Supreme Lord in his Dhrita Narahari Rupa, means one who poses Narahari Rupa, the half-line, half-man shape, right? In Dhrita Narahari Rupa, when Supreme Lord asks Prahlad Maharaj, what do you want? He never said that I want this, I want that, I want this kingdom and all. He said that, forgive my father also. Who will ask to forgive an enemy? Though Hiranyakasipu is a father of Prahlad Maharaj, he has put Prahlad Maharaj into so many difficulties, what not. He tried to stamp him with elephants. He throws him into an ocean, tying a very big stone so that he gets sink down. So many things he tried. He gives poison to drink. All these things he did. So can he be considered as a father? Even if he's a father, when father doesn't come as a qualification, right? It is not, he could be a biological father, he cannot be an affectionate father. So he himself is an enemy, very big enemy of Prahlad Maharaj. But despite of that, Prahlad Maharaj asks Narahari to forgive him. So that is the quality of a Vaishnava, right? If you look at this quality of Vaishnava, we have seen in the previous text, the qualities of Brahmana. Qualities of Brahmana are those where he gets detached from money and women, and he's selfless. He actually has gotten detachment. There is one another thing, right? Very important thing. Yeah, he is completely detached from the fruits of the results. So all these qualities doesn't talk about praying for someone, but only a Vaishnava can actually pray for someone who is even an enemy, right? So though I am chanting, there are many bad qualities still are carried over from my past lives or in this life from past few years. So these qualities have to be cleansed. And these qualities, when I say these qualities, hatred, envy, all these qualities have to be cleansed. They can be only cleansed through two things. One is chanting and making sadhana better. And second thing is having the association of Vaishnavas. And the second one is very, very important, because personally, I have seen many people who are like very good at sadhana, very strong followers, but still they have to, they've fallen down because the sadhana has kind of gradually fall down, and then finally they had to fall down from their, Vaishnava qualities. This happened just because they were not properly trained before leaving the association, right? So I was actually asking one of the brahmacharis. I went to Yatra in 2000. I think I went to Chitrakoot Dham Yatra in 2019. There is one brahmachari who was like always stable and very calm and very composed. And the way, when I looked at the way he was chanting early in the morning, sitting at 4:30 on the banks of Mandakini Ganga. Chitrakoot has a river called Mandakini Ganga. So on that banks, there is a small building, not exactly building, it's a slab. And underneath the slab, there are stairs to go to Mandakini Ganga. So you can climb up the slab. So that brahmachari, early in the morning, when I got up at 4:30, he took bath in Mandakini Ganga. It was very winter time. Actually, I think it was around October, November time frame, Dasara time frame, right? So he covered his body with a blanket, and then he was moving like this. I thought that I could not understand why someone is moving like this, or the brahmachari in saffron clothes is moving like this. When I went close to him, he was chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and he never tries to. He gives, if you have a problem, you talk to him. He, at his capacity, tries to give a solution, but he never tells his problems to anyone. So with all that, the 7 days I observed him, and before leaving, I asked him, how are you able to maintain this consistency? I asked him. I myself am struggling so much. When I'm in Yatra, I do perform my sadhana very well. But when I get out, or when I go back to Hyderabad, getting indulged back in my job and all other daily activities, my sadhana goes down and my consistency goes down. Then he said, we come to Yatras especially to take association of Vaishnavas. And it is like team dynamics. You go hand in hand, everything goes together, and then you can actually go against the tide. He said that you come to Yatras to take inspiration. And it is very, very important to take inspiration. Inspiration is like charging your electric vehicle battery overnight. And then it runs for another 200 kilometers or 120 miles, right? So it is very, very important to take association. And it is very, very important to take inspiration from the association. So when I asked this brahmachari, where do you derive this inspiration? right? In fact, he don't see one, he just saw his Guru Maharaj only once, right? It is very difficult also for him to reach to his Guru Maharaj, because there are so many, his Guru Maharaj himself is very busy, and there are so many barriers. You have to take all those approvals to reach Guru Maharaj to speak for probably 15 seconds to take inspiration. So I asked him, how do you take inspiration? So his answer to me was, he has taken so much association, because when someone becomes brahmachari, right, all that you will have is just association, nothing else, because they are not like us to code and do things, right? So he has taken so much of association. He's like Brahmanically initiated brahmachari. So for the last 10-12 years, he has been taking so much of association. Now he has become kind of Sthita Prajna. He went to a state where his stability, he has reached a stability which actually keeps him there. So that's what his answer was. So when I told him that I have gotten so many problems, my sadhana is not good, when I go back, I again kind of my sadhana goes down. He said that you have to take association and don't waste time when you go to yatras. You really have to take so much association, and then you charge your battery so much, it actually keeps your your fountain with a high pressure till you actually come to next yatra. At the same time, these daily satsang, daily associations are also very important to actually intermittently charge your battery to keep the pressure of the fountain high, right? And one another example that I want to quote here is, and these brahmacharis, they take so much, when I was talking about their service and association, I have seen one brahmachari, when I went I think last Thursday, I went to take, on Praveen Prabhu's recommendation, I went to take one session for the college students. And it goes something like this. When someone is new, the brahmacharis do not go and show before the students. Because nowadays, when we see a person in saffron, what would be our first thought? We don't treat our subordinates and poor people the way that we treat a filthy rich person or a politician or a person in power, right? The moment they see the brahmacharis, that too young brahmacharis, they get scared. The first impression that goes into their mind is, when you become a brahmachari in saffron clothes, you are completely deteriorating your career, and you're completely away from this material world. You don't get to see movies, you don't get to play cricket, you don't get to smoke, don't get to drink, you don't get to have any of these so-called material luxuries, right? So the brahmacharis usually, they do not come and show up before the newly introduced students. So I gave around 1.5 hour session, and before to that, 15 minutes before, which is like 1 hour 45 minutes before, the kids have come, the college students have come. So now the brahmachari is inside that place where the session is supposed to be conducted. He doesn't want to show himself to the students, so he ran into kitchen and he logged himself. Now anything that he wanted, he was just knocking the kitchen door, and someone from outside going into the kitchen door and giving him whatever he needed. So when I looked at that brahmachari, he was actually making puris for the students, and he's from IIT Kharagpur. Just to let you people know, he's from IIT Kharagpur. He's very well versed with devotional service. He can perform any service. He can do any coding because he's from IIT Kharagpur, and he was making puris. So I completed my session. All the students left. Then I went into the kitchen. I came to know that he is in the kitchen. I was actually searching for him, who actually has coordinated my session. I went into the kitchen, and when I looked at him, he's like, he looked like he has just taken bath and wore clothes. It's a hot summer. That day, the temperature I saw, it was 39 degrees, feeling like 41 degrees. You always see that current temperature, and then you see how it feels like, right? That day it was 39 degrees, feeling like 41 degrees. And this brahmachari is sitting inside the kitchen, making puris, right? I mean, I couldn't stop my tears looking at him, because, from IIT Kharagpur, he was coordinating, and he could have, gone to a job which could actually paid him probably 30-40 lakhs an annum. And he was doing that kind of service. So looking at that, one thought came into my mind is, when someone comes into Krishna consciousness, the first thing that they have to get detached is the so-called material maya, right? Yeah, of course, as grihasthas, we have to earn and then to support brahmacharis and sannyasis. But if someone want to be very serious in Krishna consciousness, you should really get detached from what you earn, what you want to, how you want to progress in material life and things like that. So, yeah. Again, coming back to the story. So Prahlad Maharaj is like, he considered everything material to be so useless, right? So this is the definition of a Vaishnava. If you want to be Vaishnava, you have to be above and beyond of all these material appliances and all these sense gratifying situations, right? Yeah, we'll go a little forward. Yeah, 34th verse. Yasmin mahad gunarajan gruhyante kavibirmuhu nati dhuna pidiyante yatha bhagavati sware. Translation: O king. So here Narada Muni is talking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. O king, Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas, as all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They also exist forever in his devotee Prahlad Maharaj. So what this translation is talking about is, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you might get a question: if we are part and parcel of from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why are we not having all the good qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Or why a neophyte devotee or a person standing outside the periphery of Krishna consciousness is not having the good qualities of Supreme Personality of God? The reason is the qualities are there, but they're dormant. So to awaken them, we have to get association of a Vaishnava who actually can, so who actually can stab and then take the dormant good qualities outside, right? Yeah, anyone wants to read the purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, shall I read?
Sure, Mataji, my pleasure. Please read, Mataji.
From authoritative scripture, it is learned that Prahlad Maharaja still lives in Vaikuntha Loka as well as within this material world on the planet Sutala. This transcendental quality of existing simultaneously in different places in another qualification is another qualification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Goloka eva nivasate akhilatma bhutaha. The Lord appears in the core of everyone's heart, yet he exists on his own planet, Goloka Vrindavana. A devotee acquires qualities almost the same as those of the Lord because of the unalloyed devotional service. Ordinary living beings cannot be so qualified, but a devotee can be qualified like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not in full, but partially. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very nicely. Thank you so much. Yeah, so here one important thing that just Mataji read is, Prahlad Maharaj lives in Vaikuntha Loka as well as within the material world on the planet Sutala, right? So this is omnipresent. Omnipresent means present everywhere. This is the quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, it is said that here one interesting thing is, Prahlad Maharaj was living in Vaikuntha as well as in Sutala planet. There is one another great personality lives in Sutala planet. Who is that? He is the king of Sutala planet.
Bali Maharaj.
Yes, Sanjay Prabhu. It's Bali Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj also was, in fact, Bali Maharaj was also not just living in Sutala Loka, right? He was also living with Lord Vishnu because he's a great devotee of Vishnu. In fact, because of the greatness of Bali Maharaj, Lord Vishnu becomes a gatekeeper in Sutala planet, right? So Prahlad Maharaj also is living in both Goloka as well as Sutala planet. Now, one another interesting story I want to narrate over here is Prabhupada. Now tell me, should we say that Prabhupada is in Bhuloka when he was here trying to deliver each one of us?
Yes, I think so.
He is in Bhuloka at the same time, he is in Goloka also. One very interesting story that we have over here is, when Prabhupada was in Radha Damodar temple, one devotee waits for a long time for Prabhupada, and after a long time, Prabhupada, when Prabhupada is in a D&D mode, like when he says, do not disturb, when he keeps do not disturb board outside his room, no one disturbs Prabhupada. So one devotee, after a long waiting, Prabhupada comes out. When Prabhupada comes out, the devotee sees a Kadamba flower in Prabhupada's hand. When this devotee sees Kadamba flower in Prabhupada's hand, he's japped. He's completely surprised. So he jabbed and he asked Prabhupada, this is not a season for Kadamba flowers, but still you have a Kadamba flower. Now, I'm sure that many of us know the answer. What was the answer? Anyone knows?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhupada said Balram gave it to me.
Hari bol. Yeah. So Prabhupada replies back saying that Balram gave me this flower. Can we imagine? You know, can we imagine to see Balram? I mean, when I think of Balram, I just see that white toy in my altar, on the leftmost, right? Baldev. When I heard this story, I mean, I was overwhelmed. It's like my dream. In fact, I've asked my Guru Maharaj a question once. I don't know this reason, but most of the times I get attracted to Balram more than Krishna. So I asked my Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada, is it good to take inspiration from Balram? Prabhupada said, why not? And he asked me, why do you take inspiration from Balram? I feel Krishna is too naughty and too mischievous. So I don't know how he's going to play with me. So I said, I most of the times tend to take inspiration from Balram. He said that, of course, you can absolutely take inspiration from Balram. I didn't ask Balram. I said, is it good to get attracted to Nityananda or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He said that, I said I am more attracted to Nityananda than Chaitanya. He said that, yes, of course, you can get attracted to Chaitanya. So when I heard that this devotee got an answer from Prabhupada saying that I got this flower, Kadamba flower from Balram, I was so overwhelmed. Prabhupada was consistently seeing, if he wants to see Balram, he can just go. Not like Ravana sir, who actually built stairs to Swargaloka directly, despite of doing all that he had to collapse. But whereas Prabhupada, in a Dasya Rasa, in a servitor mode, he was serving them so much, they gave him direct access, right? So this is now if you look at Prabhupada, he is like Nitya Siddha, right? Now Prabhupada, being a great servitor of Supreme Lord Krishna, he has gotten the qualities of Krishna, being omnipresent. Not exactly omnipresent. When we become devotees of Krishna, when we become Vaishnavas, we don't get the complete qualities of the Supreme Lord, but we get to a certain extent, right? Like an ocean drop, salt. You get the salt taste, but you're not as big as the entire ocean. You're not such a big body, right? So when someone becomes a devotee of Krishna, they get little tinge of the supreme quality of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Likewise, Prabhupada was present both in Bhuloka as well as Goloka. Likewise, Prahlad Maharaj was present in Vaikuntha Loka as well as in Sutala planet. Right? And what else? Yeah, I think we discussed this in full. Let's go to next text. Text 35. Yamshadu gata sadasi ripavopi surban ripa Pratimanam prakurvanti kim utanye bhavadrishaha. Translation, I'll read it. It's a small one. Translation: in any assembly where there are discourses about saints and devotees, O King Yudhishthira, even the enemies of the demons, namely the demigods, what to speak of you. Let me read it again. In any assembly where there are discourses about saints and devotees, O King Yudhishthira, even the enemies of demons, namely the demigods, what to speak of you, would cite Prahlad Maharaj as an example of great devotee. Right? So here it is very clear that it is not just the kings, it is not just in Rajashi Yagya. Anywhere where there are discourses about saints and devotees, Prahlad Maharaj, this is what I was talking in the beginning of the session. So every day in and day out, where what are the duties of saints? Like they do perform austerities and penance, they perform yajnas, all these things. So wherever there is yajna that is performed, the discourse of Prahlad Maharaj's pastimes are talking about. So this is what we were talking in the beginning. So I was contemplating on this. So I felt like at least I should read. In fact, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he reads Prahlad Maharaj's pastimes a lot, right? And this is one way to take a very good inspiration. Because if you look at Prahlad Maharaj, it is a story on the extreme, right? He had undergone so many tortures. And are the tortures done by his enemies? No, his own father, right? So when I went and joined for my engineering, I went on day 1 and I made my father to come on day 2 in the same train, because till I joined my engineering, I never stayed outside. I was like mama pet, right? So I was feeling separation from my mother so much. The moment I got down the train, even in the train, I didn't have a choice to come back. But otherwise, I would have come back in the train itself. So I went down. I went over there, and then the first thing that I did after landing over there in my engineering college city is to call my father, and then say I can't stay here. And in the same, the next day, in the same train in which I went the day before, my father came. And then he had to talk to my HOD to get me a leave for 1 month. So I skipped my first term exam also, to spend time with my mother at my hometown. So this is, I'm just giving that example to understand an affection or a relation between parents and the children, right? You will have such a kind of great, even in fact, Lilananda Prabhuji mentions a story where, a family goes to a beach and then they enjoy some to some extent, and then when they come back, they can't find their 3-year-old son. They're like half a kilometer back onto the shore, back onto the bank, and then they couldn't find their son. And when they were searching, the tears are like, they just flow like anything, right? So such a kind of paternal affection that someone will have with their father, and if such a father is trying to create problems to the son, what to speak of, right? So Prahlad Maharaj didn't just undergo. It is said that, right, you slap someone, it might not be as painful as provoking someone. So when someone is given pain, it's okay. But when your close relation gives pain, it is unbearable. So if you look at Prahlad Maharaj, he just didn't undergo those dangers. He underwent those dangers which were caused by his own father, and he tolerated them. That are the qualities of a Vaishnava. In addition to that, the additional great quality that he had is he was looking at everyone with an equal vision or equal mindset. He was looking at, of course, he was respecting at different levels, but he was looking at everyone with the same mindset, right? Pandita Samdarshana. Yeah, this would be the last one with which we will end. Verse 36. Gunair alam asankhyair mahatmyam tasya shuchyate vasudeva bhagavati yashya naisargik vrati. Anyone wants to read translation and purport? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam, I'll read it.
Dandat Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Please, please.
Translation. Who could list the innumerable transcendental qualities of Prahlad Maharaj? He had unflinching faith in Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, and unalloyed devotion to him. His attachment to Lord Krishna was natural because of his previous devotion service. Although his good qualities cannot be enumerated, they prove that he was a great soul, Mahatma. Purport. In his prayers to the 10 incarnations, Jayadeva Goswami says, Keshavadrita Narhari Rupa Jay Jagadisha Hare. Prahlad Maharaj was a devotee of Lord Narasimha, who is Keshava, Krishna himself. Therefore, when this verse says Vasudeva Bhagavati, one should understand that Prahlad Maharaj's attachment for Narasimha was attachment to Krishna, Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. Prahlad Maharaj, therefore, is described as a great Mahatma, as the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. A great devotee of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is a great soul very rarely to be found. Prahlad Maharaj's attachment for Krishna will be explained in the next verse. Krishna Grahitatma. Prahlad Maharaj's heart was always filled with thoughts of Krishna. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is the ideal devotee in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah. So one thing to emphasize over here is one should understand that Prahlad Maharaj's attachment of Narasimhadeva was attachment for Krishna, Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, Prahlad Maharaj. Therefore, it is described as a great Mahatma. So it is the definition of Mahatma it is given over here. It is not that, Saint Joseph, Saint means again, Mahatmas, right? It is not, so Mahatma is a title can be given by another Mahatma. It's not that I'm not a Mahatma, I'm a bad guy. I can't make someone a Mahatma. So if I say Mahatma Nehru or Mahatma Gandhi or Mahatma some Patel, so for me to give the title, I should be at a level of Mahatma, right? So unfortunately in current era, the Swami, the Mahatma, the Guru, all these things were given by people who are not Swamis, who are not Gurus, who are not Mahatmas. So the definition of Mahatma should be given to someone, not to a social servant or someone else. The definition of Mahatma is someone who actually in complete attachment to the Supreme Lord. So Prahlad Maharaj is a Mahatma because he was completely attached to Narasimhadev. There is one another text that we will read because that has one another important point, and with that we will end. Nyas न्यास्त कृदानको बालो जदवत्तन मनस्यया कृष्णग्राह गृहीतात्मा नवेदे जगत ईदृशान. Translation: from the very beginning of his childhood, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childish playthings. Indeed, he gave them up altogether and remained silent and dull, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, he could not understand how the world goes on being fully absorbed in the activities of sense gratification. Yeah, I'll read the purport, it's a little bigger. Prahlad Maharaj is the vivid example of great person fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Stavara Jangama Deke, Nadeke Tara Murti, Sarvatrahaya Nija Ishta Deva Spurti. A fully Krishna conscious person, although situated in this material world, does not see anything but Krishna, anywhere and everywhere. This is the sign of Mahabhagavata. The Mahabhagavata sees Krishna everywhere because of his attitude of pure love for Krishna. As confirmed in Brahma Samhita, as confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Premanjanachurito Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyama Sundara, situated within the heart of a devotee. An exalted devotee or Mahatma, who is rarely to be seen, remains fully conscious of Krishna and constantly sees the Lord within the core of his heart. It is sometimes said that when one is influenced by evil stars like Saturn, Rahu or Ketu, he cannot make advancement in prospective activities. In any prospective activity. In just the opposite way, Prahlad Maharaj was influenced by Krishna, the supreme planet, the supreme planet, and Prahlad Maharaj was influenced by Krishna, the supreme planet, and thus he could not think of material world and live without Krishna consciousness. That is the sign of a Mahabhagavata. Even if one is an enemy of Krishna, a Mahabhagavata sees him to be also engaged in Krishna's service. Another crude example is that everything appears yellow to a jaundiced eyes. Similar to a Mahabhagavata, everyone but himself appears to be engaged in Krishna's service. Here there are three things that we can actually contemplate on. Yeah. One thing is, if you read it, it is sometimes said that when one is influenced by evil stars like Saturn, Rahu and Ketu. So when someone is influenced by Shani, Rahu and Ketu, what happens is he cannot have it is said, right, when we on Ugadi we read that Panchangam, and during that we just try to find out if I am in Shani, Rahu or Ketu scope, right? And those times are considered to be not good times. So like that, when someone is influenced by bad things or has association of people, this exactly like this. So if we are trying to get association of people who are like enjoying the material sense gratifying things, we are under the influence of Saturn, Rahu and Ketu, because of which the progress in devotional service is very, very difficult, right? And the other thing that I wanted to make a note of it over here is, if you read this here, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childhood playthings. So it's like after he took birth, he was not speaking, he was a dull boy. That's when actually Hiranyakasipu invites his gurus and tells him that, Prahlad Maharaj is very dull boy. He's not at all, talking or playing in, unlike any other child, he's not going out to play. So then, he was taken to that, what is it called? That school, I mean, Brahmacharya Asrama. He was taken there for giving education, right? And that's when he starts giving education to others at the age of 5 years. Despite of getting education from the teachers, he actually gives education to everyone about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one another important meaning to be noted over here about Mahabhagavata is, he actually sees good in everything. He doesn't differentiate between a Chandala and a Vaishnava. She's good in everyone and everything. Last para. Prahlad Maharaj is the approved Mahabhagavata, the supreme devotee. In the previous verse, it was stated that he had natural attachment, Naisargika Rati. The symptoms of such natural attachment for Krishna are described in the verse. Although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, he had no interest in playing. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 2nd chapter, 42 text, Viraktir Anyatra cha. The symptom of perfect Krishna consciousness is that one loses interest in all material activities. For a small boy to give up playing is impossible, but Prahlad Maharaj, being situated in first-class devotional service, was always absorbed in trance of Krishna consciousness. Just as materialistic person is always absorbed in thoughts of material gain, a Mahabhagavata like Prahlad Maharaj is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. One another thing I want to mention about Mahabhagavata is someone who actually always feels that he's not doing enough of service to Krishna. And when he looks at others, he compares himself with others, and he always finds himself to be at a standards lower than everyone else. So if I'm a Mahabhagavata, when I see a person roaming on the road, drinking liquor, I see him as serving Krishna. Compared to me, I see him as serving Krishna better than what I am doing. That is the quality of a Mahabhagavata. So that's how a Mahabhagavata is characterized, right? So I think with this we can actually summarize the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj, and then we can probably take few questions and then we can end the session. But before ending session today, we can actually sing Narsingh Arati, because this is a great time to sing Narsingh Arati, right? So to summarize the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj was a great devotee. He was like Pandita Samadarshana. He was looking at everyone at equal thing, but he was respecting elders with a great respect, and to poor and all, he was like a brother and a sympathetic brother and a father. And Prahlad Maharaj, despite of have gotten troubles by his father, he was like, so he was a great Vaishnava. And when Narsingadev Narahari gave him an option to choose something, he chooses, he requests Narsingadev to forgive his father, who is like a worst person than an enemy, because he's a paternal relation. At the same time, he was trying to create dangers for Prahlad Maharaj. And the qualities of Vaishnavas are the superset of Brahmanas, which means Brahmanas have all good qualities, Sattvagunas, whereas a Vaishnava, in addition to all those good qualities, he has mercy. And the third thing that we learned is, for someone to be able to hold the bead bag and chant Hare Krishna Mantra, it is not so easy. They have to take so many births, after which they get to know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then they get to know the Maha Mantra, and then they start chanting. So it's a very difficult path that someone, or it's rather a lot of hard work that someone has put in to actually come to a stage where they hold the beads and then chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And finally, Prahlad Maharaj is an approved Mahabhagavata who actually sees everyone else as serving the Supreme Lord better than him, by which, he can actually strive to get more and more service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he was a very dull boy during his childhood, but and he was dull because he used to look everything around, like he used to search for Krishna in a way like Parikshit Maharaj, right? So that's how the Prahlad Maharaj characters were engrossed in these 7 texts. So I think I will end here. If you have any questions, we can discuss. Otherwise, we can sing Narsingh Arati and then end the session. And if anyone wants to add something, please do add. And please forgive me if I have spoken anything wrong. I'm a menial servant. I mean, I'm speaking it from my heart. I'm not trying to be fanatic. I'm a menial servant and I'm a small boy. I'm sure that I might have made many mistakes while talking about all these things. So please forgive me. And I would definitely plead for your blessings and mercy. And please, Santosh Sahitya Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu, Shri Gopal Prabhu, Shilpa Mataji, Satyadev Prabhu, Sanjay Prabhu, please go ahead. I mean, I'm not just reading everyone's name, but please go ahead and put in your thoughts if you want to. Please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for your wonderful lecture, Prabhuji. I was reading about I was reading about 16th chapter, the demonic and divine qualities.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So demonic qualities. So from your today's session, I got some points which were gaps in between. I had so many doubts. By your class today, I got just a nice understanding, nice gel to the connection. So thank you so much for your lecture, Prabhuji. Always when I have doubt somewhere or the other, you are clearing me.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it is definitely due to the association of Gachibowli Satsang, Prabhuji. When I come in there, and then these are all the things that I have gathered from different devotees. It is not, I mean, I'm very bad at reading daily books also. So I just gathered from by talking to Subara Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu, and from sessions from Lilananda Prabhu. That's how, I gathered all these information. Prabhu.
Yes, clearly, Prabhu. Association is the only method.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Udayananda Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Thank you very much for Rajdhani Express kind of presentation. It's good to go, and then the train is gone already. But wonderful, Prabhuji, wonderful topic you have chosen, and talked about so many nice things. A lot of examples. You give a lot of examples that help us understand. Very nice, as usual. Very nice presentation and lecture. Thank you very much.
Prabhuji, I know you're just trying to encourage me. And most of these things are something that I've grabbed from you or Subara Prabhuji or someone else. But thank you for that encouragement, Prabhuji. It gives me some kind of strength to go ahead and read more. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we don't have any more questions, probably we can do Narsingarthi and end the session, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, Mother's, any questions, comments, supporting thoughts, please?
Okay, Prabhuji, I think Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste विघ्नविनाश नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्ति श्रीमद प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। Praveen Prabhu, thank you so much. Thank you. I can't say enough of thanks. I know you're so busy and then still, spending time for this. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam for the session, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.